I'm just going to lay it out straight. We're in a dating crisis. Not basically, we are. That's what's happening. So let me look at my research here because I don't want to mess it up. So men looking for casual dates and our relationships is down 50%. 50 since 2019. Not since 1970, since 2019.
Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. I would love it if you would help me to grow this channel and hit that subscribe button now. And if you're returning, welcome back. I truly do appreciate your continued support on my channel, and I hope that you are subscribed as well. So there is something that I have been concerned about for a while now, and it's that amongst the many ways that society is being divided right now, it seems as though the divide between men and women seems to just be getting wider and wider. And for the most part, people have understandably and justifiably pointed the finger at feminism and feminists as the ones who started the division between the sexes, which is something that I honestly agree with. All of the lies that have convinced women to believe that they don't need a man and that men are simple creatures whose reliance on women has led to the oppression of women, and that women are better off on their own, and that women will be just as fulfilled by a career as they would have been if they had gotten married and had children. In other words, they would be just as happy, if not happier, if they just behaved more like men. Now, thankfully, women today are starting to really wake up to the lies that feminism has sold them, and the fact that these ideas have honestly made them miserable because it has taught them to value things that by nature women really don't find fulfilling, like a high demand career. And that's not me saying that women shouldn't work and that we belong barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. I'm glad at this point in time in history we have so many strong female leaders who have taken up positions in medicine and in law and in engineering and development and project management and politics. We have incredible insight that is unique to us that helps to benefit all of these areas of life. However, studies are showing that women are increasingly unhappy despite all of these so-called improvements that we've made. And I truly believe it's because at our core, because of how we were created, that these high demand careers do not fulfill us at our deepest levels. Yet for some reason, it seems to be the thing that women are like, well, I just need to pursue that more. I just need to do more of that. If I just keep reaching for that next level, I'm going to be happier. And it's just not working. I hate to break it to you, women, and this is not meant to be an oppressive statement. This is not meant to make you feel bad. This is actually meant to help you feel better. Family and children and building a home are truly the things that make us happy. And for men, providing a safe and stable home for their family is what fulfills them. And you'd think people would also let go of this fear of traditional homes and traditional values that feminism has taught people to have. And as a result of all of this, we would hope that we would start to see men and women start to come back together. But not only is that not happening, but things are actually just getting worse. And it's really unfortunate for both men and women. But it's not only just feminism and the ideas of feminists that are the problem. We now seem to have this new wave of masculists and this new movement of masculism. And yes, that is actually a word. So over the last few weeks, I have found myself in this corner of the internet where there seem to be all of these men's channels, and the content creators, they find videos of women on TikTok to react to. And the main source of content for these content creators usually involve women over the age of 30 who have been married and gotten divorced for no reason. And when I say no reason, as you listen to their stories, it becomes abundantly clear that there is a huge factor of social contagion that has contributed to the decision to get a divorce. Because while everybody cites the statistic that 50% of marriages end in divorce, what we need to recognize and what we need to open our eyes to is the fact that of those divorces, like 70 to 80% of them are being initiated by women. And not only that, there seems to be a direct link or direct correlation between the amount that a woman uses TikTok and spends on TikTok and the decision to leave her marriage. And I know that a lot of people want to say that nobody would ever get a divorce based on something that they heard on TikTok, but if you don't recognize the absolute menace that TikTok is and the things that it can influence people to do, and the fact that there is really no decision that is outside of the scope of what TikTok can influence you to do, then I don't know what to tell you. But TikTok is actually just turning people into mindless zombies who can be convinced to do literally anything. So these guys find these videos of these women getting on TikTok and sobbing, and of course these women are gaining an audience because of their trauma, and then they get validation from their followers, and they insist, of course, that they had no choice but to leave their marriage and blow up their family, and they convince all of their followers that they were living in the worst conditions imaginable. But more often than not, the more videos you see of these women, you find out that they just felt like it was time to go out and find themselves and find their happiness or whatever it is, and that was reason enough to just completely dismantle their family. These guys also pull a lot of videos of women who are, again, middle-aged or older, getting on TikTok and crying about, being alone and not being able to find a man. And they have a lot of opinions about what has led these women to this point in their lives, which I think, and I agree, can be equated to this feminist idea of, I don't need a man. And I think on top of all that, as a society in general, when it comes to relationships, the things that should be the most important to us, we have become the most careless, and just these are the things that people just seem to be so ready to throw away at the drop of a hat. So this is what these men built their channels on, playing videos of these women sobbing and trauma dumping on TikTok, and then they respond to them. And honestly, I agree with these men when they say it is so weird for women to get on TikTok and cry for their audience. And, honestly, I cringe every time I see it. Women, you have got to stop doing this. Like, honestly, just knock it off, because you are not doing yourself any favors. And honestly, just as a side note, because I've had this thought numerous times as I have seen these videos, when internet dating first became a thing, when meeting people online first became a thing, it used to be that you had to click on a website and you would see someone's bio and you would see just a little bit about them, and maybe you would chat back and forth, but usually you ended up meeting in person pretty quickly and got to know each other. You each had a chance to get to know each other in person. And if there were quirky and weird things about you, they would probably find that out after they've had a chance to determine if, you were a pleasant person to be around, if you were a nice person, if you're someone that is worth going on another date with. And those quirky behaviors or those qualities that might be less than desirable were easier to tolerate, because they could then compare them to the things that were more positive about you. But with this overuse of TikTok, I don't know if you women know, but men can see you. When you get on there and you sob, they might meet you online, but if they can scroll through all of your other videos, they're going to learn pretty quickly that you seem like an absolute psycho. And you are telling them right there that it is not even worth trying. So if you're wondering why you can't get a man, just look at your own video history, look at all of the things that you have posted, and that might be a pretty strong indicator, because you're not even giving these guys a chance to see if there is anything positive about you, because you've put all of the negative things out there and you're telling them that it's not worth the drama. So before I get too far into more of my main concerns with this, let me just show you a couple of clips from these channels so you can see what I'm talking about. And if any of these guys end up on this video and see what I'm saying, because it might end up being criticized by them, I just want to say, for the most part, I agree with a lot of the things that you say. Probably about 95% of what you say, I am fully on board with, because I think women have completely gone off the rails. At least a lot of women have gone completely off the rails. Not all women, but they are definitely out there. The crazy ones are out there giving women a bad name, and I can understand why you guys have so much content to cover all the time. So I'm going to give you a few examples from these channels, just so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, because these guys go on there and not only do they react to videos, but they also give men advice about dating and about, kind of the risk that they're facing, which again are a lot of the things that I agree with. But just so you know what they are commenting on, a few of these channels that I watch are called, Manosphere, Taylor the Fiend, Legion of Men, The Wall, there's HL Talk That Thought, and also I happen to think that Pearl Davis falls into this category of masculism by far. In fact, maybe she is the OG of masculism. Let's just look at a couple of things just as examples of what they respond to. This is somebody that chose to get a divorce, and now she is sitting in her closet crying. And what I usually find amusing about these, or maybe not amusing, which is more just tragic than anything is that the piano music that you hear over top of these videos was added by the woman who made the video. These are not added by the men who are responding to the video, which makes me wonder why women constantly feel the need to center themselves in their own reality show. They feel like they're just acting out this Lifetime movie constantly, and it's really cringy, and I understand why these guys respond the way that they do. So this particular clip is from Taylor the Fiend.
I haven't cried in quite some time, and a lot of emotions are coming up because I'm moving. I'm tired of doing things alone. I realize that I choose relationships that I know won't work out because it scares me.
Of a modern woman who has decided to divorce her husband, and like many other women who decide to divorce their husband, especially these ones who are 40, 50, etc., she instantly regretted doing it. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and your comments.
Still struggle sometimes. Not every day can be perfect.
Guys, at a certain point when you see enough of this, these crying women on TikTok, I divorced my husband and now I regret it, or I left my good relationship and now I regret it. It just becomes funny.
And this is a clip from a channel called Legion of Men, and he repeatedly tells his audience, men don't get married, particularly to women in the West. Actually, the last creator that I showed a clip of, he also tells men constantly, do not get married. It's not worth the risk. So this is just a clip from Legion of Men's channel.
But I'm genuinely curious why y'all are saying no to marriage. Like, I just want to know. So if you feel like sharing those thoughts, feel free to drop a comment. Men, female, anybody who feels that way about marriage, please just let me know why, because I'm genuinely curious. Like, even
divorce laws, your body count, you're not a virgin, you're probably too old, you have trauma from probably a broken home. Again, divorce laws, child custody laws, biases in court for women, you wanting to be a strong boss babe, independent, don't need no man. What's a man even useful for? The patriarchy, this. What do you bring to the table? Or when I say bring to the table, I'll just say, what do you provide a man that he can't provide himself? That's it. That's a simple question. Because if you're going to tell me, I can cook and I can clean, and congratulations. There are maids and cooks for that. There's Uber Eats. There's little automated robots. They do just as well of a job, and they cost a hell of a lot less.
And this is from another one that's pretty popular. It's called Manosphere, and he talks a lot, or he responds to a lot of videos about women who are like, why don't men approach us? Why can't I find a man? But then, these women will talk about their high body counts and just essentially giving off really masculine energy and being pretty much just not what men want. I appreciate a lot of the things that these guys have to say because their concerns are valid, and I'm hoping that when women watch these things, it's not a matter, you can take it as insulting, or you can take it as a means of taking their advice and saying, okay, these are the things that I need to be and I need to change as a woman, and to make myself more approachable, to make myself more compatible with a man, because when both sides are acting like men, it's just not going to happen.
I have a question for men. Why don't you guys approach us in public? It's so frustrating.
Because if a woman doesn't like you, she will call you a creep. Because nowadays, feminists don't want to get approached. I've shown you this before in videos where women say, don't approach us.
So you guys get the idea. This is the theme of a lot of these videos. And unfortunately, there are so many women that put these things on TikTok that these guys are never going to run out of content. I agree that women are, for some reason, very deeply confused about what it is that men want, and that they are bypassing a lot of really good quality guys to reach for that top 5% of men that they think that they are entitled to, which they like to call the Chads and the Tyrones, who are men that just want to be bachelors forever and who are never going to settle down with them. I agree that the laws in the US, they favor women by far, and that getting married is a huge risk for men these days, especially when you see so many women who have no problem blowing up their marriage for simply not being happy, which means at the drop of a hat, a man could lose half of the things that he has spent his entire life working for, losing his kids, and then end up paying high amounts of child support and alimony. I agree that men have a much harder time dating than women do. And I agree that as much as it used to be a sign of a gentleman to pay for dates, to pay for your food, to cover the cost of whatever it is that you're doing, I understand why fewer men are doing those things, because there are so many women that think that they are entitled to a man's wallet and entitled to his funds, and that they just expect him to pay even when they know that they have no intention of ever pursuing anything serious with that person. And if you're a woman listening to this, stop it. I understand the complaints and the concerns that these guys have, and I get why they are creating so much content to warn men about the risks of dating these days. However, I do have concerns about trying to overcorrect the issues that feminism has caused by swinging the pendulum too far in the other direction. As much as these guys complain about what feminism has done to so many women and how it has made it so difficult to find someone to build a healthy long-term relationship with, while feminism definitely is something that we still need to be aware of, I have just as much concerns, again, about this rise of this masculist movement, because as much as we've seen the "I don't need no man" lie that has destroyed women, the masculist position of "I don't need no woman" has just as much potential to harm men in the same way. These guys and their channels are growing very, very quickly, and that means their audience is getting bigger and bigger, and it is reaching more and more men. What men are gaining from these channels is essentially that all women are poisonous, that they are only after your money, and that they will eventually divorce you. And the message to all of these men is to not only not get married, but pretty much to not pursue any kind of meaningful, committed relationship. And I think that that has, again, just as much potential to do harm to men as the feminists have done to women. So one of the biggest complaints I see from both sides is, women have latched onto this whole like sexual liberation thing. They can sleep with as many men as they want, and it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect them, and men shouldn't judge them based on that, even though statistically it shows that if you do have a high body count and you are sleeping with a bunch of people before you get into that committed relationship, you have a significantly higher chance of either cheating on your spouse or leaving that relationship altogether. But then women complain about men who sleep with a lot of people and will engage in this kind of intimate behavior with them without feeling the need to have any kind of emotional attachment to them whatsoever. So they're getting the idea that just because a man sleeps with them, that they should at least want to call them the next day, or at least want to go on another date, or at least want to pursue something with them, or that it's a sign that they want to pursue something with them. And it's generally not, because I think both sides are completely forgetting the fact that, this is just one more thing that demonstrates that men and women are created completely differently. Men do have a higher sex drive, which, allows them to kind of do those things without the emotional attachment, whereas women have a much more higher propensity for that emotional attachment, and they think that the physical intimacy is going to be tied to that more often than it is. But when you have two ends of the scale that have the higher physical propensity and the higher emotional, you can see how it's beneficial to both to get to know each other first and demand things of each other before reaching that point in their relationship. But when you have women that are saying, "I don't need no man," and they're just going to keep doing these things without the commitment, and you end up with men who are saying, "I don't need no woman," and they're going to continue to do those things without the commitment, you end up with both sides of the aisle, both sexes using each other for the thing that they said that they don't want to be used for. We have a significantly higher number of women engaging in things like adult entertainment, where they're pretty much saying, "You can buy this thing from me, I just need your wallet." And then you have a higher number of men saying that I can get this specific need met without having to deal with the headache of dating a modern woman, and all I need to do is pay for it. So you have the women over here getting paid, and they're using a man for his wallet, and then you have the men over here who are willing to pay for it and using the women for their sexuality and for their body. And then you end up with everybody engaging in the kind of entertainment and the type of adult content that pretty much cripples society across the board. And then while everybody is engaging in this behavior that can lead to the production of children, you end up with a higher number of children that are being raised in single parent homes. And girls that are raised in a single parent home have a higher likelihood of pursuing a career that is less than desirable, probably in the adult entertainment industry. And boys that are raised in single parent homes have a higher likelihood mode of getting involved in gangs and in crime and in illegal types of activity. And then when you have men that are saying, I don't need no woman, you have women that are saying, I don't need no man, you have both people pursuing lives that are centered on themselves and entirely focused on me. And as much as people think that that is something that is going to lead to higher levels of happiness, it actually leads to higher rates of depression and anxiety, because believe it or not, actually serving and loving other people is what makes people happy. It's what makes both people happy. There is so much that I could say about this whole thing, and I am not claiming to have all of the answers on this issue, but what I'm finding is that both sides are able to create content and capitalize on vilifying the other side. All of these women complaining on TikTok think that all men are represented by these Chads and Tyrones who use them for their body without commitment. And then all of these men on these channels think that all women are represented by angry feminists. And as much as these masculists think that they are calling feminists out for their destructive behavior, they are doing exactly the same thing on their side. And when we've got both sides complaining about each other having high body counts, well, guess what? It takes both sides to have high body counts. So women, if you don't want to be treated like this, if you want to set the standard for men to not be able to use you for your body, then get together with all of your girlfriends and say, we are not going to do this anymore. We are actually going to set higher standards for the people that we engage in this activity with. And men, if you don't want to, be forced to select from a pool of women who have high body counts, then you've got to take accountability for your contribution to the issue. Just because a woman offers herself up doesn't mean that you have to engage in it. Again, I am not claiming to have all of the answers to this issue, but I do think that awareness is probably at least one step in the right direction. And I am not telling these men that they have to stop what they're doing, because I think that it should serve as a cautionary tale to these women to change their behavior, to rethink how they view the world and how they view men, and for men to call on their friends and their buddies to act better as well. But at this point, everybody is just yelling at each other and blaming each other and waiting for the other side to do the work for improving the situation without looking at themselves and seeing where they need to fix the issue. I don't think anything good is going to come of either side constantly demonizing the other side and making each other out to be the bad guy. But women, if you do want somebody to commit to you, get off of TikTok, because that is a huge red flag right there. Anyway, I know that my thoughts were kind of all over the place on this, but it is something that has been on my mind for a while. So I would love to hear your take on it in the comments below. Do you think that this is a problem that we can even solve? Do you think that there are any solutions to bring men and women back together? How do you think that our talking points toward each other should change? How do you think our behaviors should change? I think that this is something that we should be trying to encourage improvement in, instead of constantly looking at each other as if the worst part of men and the worst part of women represent all men and women. Please be sure that you like this video. Please make sure that you also are subscribed. Help me to grow this channel. Keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one.